Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the world of GM Breweries.
GM Breweries.
You might not know the name immediately, but if you've spent any time enjoying adult beverages in Maharashtra, India, you've probably seen their products.
Absolutely.
We've got a whole stack of company reports, market analyses, and even some fun facts about their brands.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get through.
Let's crack open this information and see what we can learn about GM Breweries.
So one of the really fascinating things about GM Breweries is that it's a real entrepreneurial success story.
Oh, interesting.
The company was founded in 1981 by a guy named Jimmy Almeida,
Okay.
and they started out producing just 200 cases a day.
200 cases a day.
That's it. Wow.
So from 200 cases a day to a major player in the Indian liquor market. That's quite a journey.
It is.
What was the secret sauce? What was the driving force behind their early success?
Well, Almeida, he had this vision to offer high-quality country liquor, but at a price that everyone could afford. So it was really smart. Like, he tapped into this significant market demand.
Makes sense.
And it clearly resonated with consumers because the company grew very, very quickly.
Yeah.
They actually went public in 1993
Oh, wow.
and secured their place on some of the major Indian stock exchanges.
That's pretty impressive.
So now they're this real dominant force, especially in that Maharashtra liquor scene.
It's amazing how a company can go from such humble beginnings,
Yeah.
to becoming such a big player.
Yeah.
So you mentioned country liquor early on.
Right.
What exactly is that? What kind of drinks are we talking about?
So country liquor in India, it refers to alcoholic beverages that are produced using these traditional methods, often from ingredients like molasses or fermented grains.
Okay.
And it's actually distinct from what's known as IMFL, or Indian-made foreign liquor.
Oh, so there's a distinction there.
Right.
IMFL, that would be like your typical...
Yeah, that's your rum, your whiskey, your vodka, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, so GM Breweries carved out their niche in this traditional market
Exactly.
and then rose to dominance.
Yeah, and that's quite impressive when you think about it.
Do we know how much of the market they control? Like, what's their market share like?
Well, their market share in Maharashtra is substantial.
Okay.
To give you an idea, they actually contribute something like 25–30% of the total excise duty
Wow.
collected for country liquor in the whole state.
That's a huge chunk of change.
It is.
Wow. They're not just a company. They're like a pillar of the local economy.
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty significant.
And it sounds like they haven't just rested on their laurels. They've been pretty innovative over the years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They've been real pioneers.
Oh, right.
You know those small 180-milliliter bottles of country liquor?
Oh, yeah.
Those were them.
Yeah.
And remember the shift towards peat bottles for alcoholic beverages?
Peat bottles for alcohol. Is that common in India? I haven't really seen that. It was gaining popularity.
But there have been some recent developments that have kind of thrown a wrench in the works.
Interesting.
We'll get into that a bit later, though.
All right. A little bit of a cliffhanger there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got this history of innovation, stronghold on the market,
Right.
a product that clearly resonates with consumers.
Yeah.
But what about the brands themselves? What are some of the names that people are looking for when they want a GM Breweries drink?
Well, their flagship brand is GM Santra,
Okay.
which has actually been the top-selling country liquor for over a decade.
For over a decade.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's because they're committed to quality.
Oh, okay.
They use premium ingredients, vacuum distillation.
Wow.
They even employ gas chromatography,
What?
which is a technique to separate and analyze compounds to ensure a consistent and desirable taste.
Gas chromatography.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like they're taking a very scientific approach to brewing.
They are.
It makes sense if you want to maintain quality over such large-scale production. That's right.
But wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
So GM Santra,
GM Santra.
that's the flagship brand.
That's the one. But they also have a couple other popular brands.
Okay, what are those?
GM Doctor,
GM Doctor.
GM Limbu Punch, and GM Dilbahar Soft.
Okay, so they have a whole little family of brands there.
They do.
Okay, so we have a company with a really sharp focus on their market,
Yes.
a dedication to quality,
Absolutely.
and a clear history of innovation.
Right.
That brings us to a key question.
Okay.
How do they produce enough to satisfy such a massive demand?
Yeah.
What's their production capacity like?
Well, their fully automated plant in Vyre,
Okay.
it can churn out a mind-boggling 50,000 cases every single day.
50,000 cases a day?
Every day.
Wow.
That's a serious amount of liquor.
It is.
To put that into perspective for our listeners,
Yeah.
how does that compare to other players in the Indian liquor market? Are they one of the largest producers?
They are definitely among the top producers in the country. And this massive production capacity really underscores their ambitious growth strategy.
It sounds like they're going for it.
They are.
But here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
They're not even operating at full capacity.
That's right.
Really. So they have the potential to produce even more than they're currently putting out.
Yes.
That seems counterintuitive.
It does a little bit.
Why wouldn't they be maximizing their output? Is there something holding them back?
There are a few factors at play here.
Okay.
And these factors actually give us a glimpse into the larger challenges
Okay.
that the Indian liquor industry as a whole is facing.
Interesting.
Things like high taxes, fluctuating raw material costs, and even the evolving regulatory landscape. These are all creating some headwinds.
Yeah, it's never as simple as just, make more booze, sell more booze.
No, it's not.
It's way more complicated than that.
Right.
This is what makes this deep dive so fascinating to me.
I agree.
It's not just looking at a company in isolation,
Right.
but seeing how it operates within a larger ecosystem, a
Exactly.
complex, dynamic ecosystem.
It's fascinating.
So let's explore that ecosystem a little bit further.
Okay.
What are some of the key things that are shaping the Indian liquor industry today?
So the Indian alcoholic beverages market is, it's a fascinating beast.
Okay.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Huge.
And it encompasses just this vast array of products.
Okay.
From the traditional country liquor that GM specializes in to imported premium brands
Oh, wow.
that cater to a more affluent consumer base.
So everything from the bottom shelf to the top shelf.
Exactly.
Got it.
And this diversity is one of the key drivers of the industry's growth.
It sounds like a really dynamic market.
It is.
So we've got this incredible range of drinks,
Right.
a growing middle class with more and more disposable income,
Right.
and a company like GM Breweries that's positioned as a leader in its segment.
At least for now.
What does all of that mean for the future of this industry? Where's it headed?
Well, the Indian liquor industry is poised for continued growth.
Okay.
And GM Breweries is very well positioned to capitalize on that trend.
Sounds promising.
It is.
But as we discussed, there are some challenges ahead.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
To really understand their future prospects.
Yes.
We need to look at these challenges and how they might impact GM Breweries' performance going forward.
That's right.
Okay, so we've talked about the company's history, their product lines, and gotten a taste of this larger industry landscape.
The lay of the land.
Now let's get our hands dirty with the numbers.
Okay.
What can their recent financial performance tell us about their current state and future prospects?
That's a great place to focus our attention.
All right.
Let's take a closer look at their Q3F25 results, which offer some really valuable insights into their financial health.
And the potential challenges they might face moving forward.
Exactly.
All right, let's crack open those financials and see what story they tell.
Let's do it.
I'm excited.
I am too. So we were talking about the future of the Indian liquor industry.
Right.
And how GM Breweries is positioned to kind of, capitalize on all that potential.
Yeah.
And I think a good place to start is by understanding the key growth drivers in this industry.
Okay.
And one major factor is the rise of a new generation of consumers.
That makes sense. Every generation has its own, drinking habits and preferences.
Right.
What's unique about this new wave of consumers in India?
So this younger generation, they're much more experimental.
Okay.
They're more open to trying new flavors, new types of alcohol.
Makes sense.
They're heavily influenced by global trends.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're more likely to seek out premium and imported brands.
So it's not just about, that traditional country liquor anymore.
Right.
They're looking for more variety and they're willing to spend a little bit more
Right.
for a premium experience.
Exactly.
So that creates both opportunities and challenges for a company like GM Breweries. On the one hand, they've got this strong foothold in that traditional market.
Right.
But to stay competitive, they need to appeal to this new generation of drinkers.
That's right.
How are they approaching that challenge?
So they've already started to diversify their offerings.
Okay.
Remember we touched on their foray into the IMFL market?
Yeah.
That's a strategic move
Makes sense.
to capture a share of that growing segment.
Right. IMFL being Indian-made foreign liquor,
Yes.
like rum, whiskey, vodka, all that good stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that seems like a pretty smart way to broaden their appeal.
It does.
Attract new customers.
But as we discussed earlier, it's not just about the drinks themselves.
No.
The Indian liquor industry has this really complex web of regulations.
It does.
How does that impact a company like GM?
Well, navigating that regulatory landscape is a big hurdle
Yeah, I bet.
for any player in this industry.
Right.
The regulations actually vary from state to state.
Oh, wow. So it's not even consistent across the country.
It's not.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it adds a lot of complexity.
To everything.
Production, distribution, even advertising.
It sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It can be.
So how does GM cope with all these different regulations across different states?
Well, it requires a very adaptable and localized approach.
Okay.
They have to tailor their strategies to each specific market.
Interesting.
So this could involve tweaking their product portfolio,
Okay.
adjusting their pricing,
Uh-huh.
even adapting their marketing campaigns.
To comply with local regulation.
Exact.
So they need to be really nimble
They do.
and responsive
Yes.
to the demands of each market.
And on top of that, they have to keep up with those evolving consumer trends.
And this new generation of drinkers.
Right.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the competition.
Oh, the competition is fierce.
Yeah, I bet it is.
The Indian liquor market is very competitive.
Okay.
You have these established domestic giants.
Okay.
Like United Spirits, they're backed by global powerhouse Diageo.
Oh, wow. So some really big players.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have this wave of international brands
All right.
that are all eager to tap into the Indian market.
Yeah, it's a huge market. Why wouldn't they be?
Right.
So GM is facing competition from both local and international players.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure to innovate and differentiate themselves.
Absolutely. They need to find ways to stand out from the crowd,
Right.
whether it's through new product development,
Uh-huh.
creative marketing campaigns, or even strategic acquisitions.
Oh, so they could be looking to buy up other companies.
Potentially.
Interesting.
They can't afford to just sit back and relax.
It sounds like they're playing a high-stakes game here.
They are.
They've got to adapt to changing consumer preferences,
Right.
navigate a complex regulatory landscape,
Yes.
and fend off competition
That's right.
from both local and international players.
And all of this is happening against a backdrop of an ever-changing economic landscape.
Oh, of course.
I mean,
Right. The economy has its ups and downs.
Yeah. Yeah. Fluctuations in the economy, changes in government policies,
Yeah.
even social attitudes towards alcohol consumption can impact their bottom line.
Right. That's a lot to juggle.
It is.
Okay, so we've established that the Indian liquor market is full of potential,
Yes.
but it's also full of challenges.
Absolutely.
Now let's bring it back to GM Breweries
Okay.
and see how they're actually performing amidst all of this.
Good idea.
We've hinted at some clues in their Q3F25 financials,
Right.
but let's really break down those numbers and see what story they tell.
Okay, so let's start with their revenue from operations.
Okay?
We see a slight dip of about 4% compared to the same quarter last year.
A 4% dip, huh? That's not insignificant.
It's not ideal.
What are some of the factors that might be contributing to this decline?
Well, it's likely a combination of factors.
Okay.
We've talked about the pressure from high taxes
Ah.
and the volatility of raw material prices.
Right. So those external pressures can really squeeze profit margins. Absolutely. Okay, so it's not just about how much revenue they're bringing in,
Right.
but also how much profit they're actually making.
So how are their profit margins looking?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Well, their profit before tax has taken a bit of a hit.
Okay,
It's down about 10% compared to Q3 of the previous year.
10%. That's definitely something to pay attention to.
It is.
Are there any bright spots in their financials that might offer some reassurance?
Well, they did recently issue bonus shares,
Okay.
which is often seen as a positive signal for investors.
Okay, how so?
Well, it can boost shareholder confidence and it can increase trading volume.
Okay,
So that's a good sign.
makes sense.
They also have a pretty substantial investment portfolio.
Investments, you say.
Yes.
Are they dabbling in anything particularly interesting or risky?
Well, there is one investment that kind of raises some eyebrows.
Okay, tell me more.
It's their stake in ILNFS,
ILNFS.
which is a company that's currently grappling with a liquidity crisis. So that's definitely cast a shroud of uncertainty on this particular investment.
So it's a bit of a gamble.
It is.
They're betting on ILNFS, turning things around.
Right.
But there's a risk that it could backfire.
There is.
Yeah.
For now, they're carrying the investment at cost, meaning they haven't adjusted its value to reflect the current situation with ILNFS.
But if things get worse,
Yeah.
they might have to reevaluate
They might.
and potentially take a hit.
Exactly.
It's like a ticking time bomb in their portfolio.
It could fizzle out or it could explode.
Right, depending on how things play out with ILNFS.
Exactly.
Okay, so beyond this risky investment, are there any other notable elements in their financials that we should be aware of?
Yeah, their track record of dividend payments is worth noting.
Okay.
They've actually paid dividends every year since their IPO,
Really?
which is a sign of their commitment to rewarding their shareholders.
Okay, so that consistency can be really attractive to investors.
Absolutely, especially those who are seeking like a steady stream of income.
So they're paying dividends, they're making strategic investments,
Right.
and they're navigating this complex market.
They're trying to strike a balance.
It seems like they're trying to strike a balance between maintaining stability and pursuing growth opportunities.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
They're not shying away from taking risks.
like that ILNFS investment
Exact.
and the
Yeah.
move into the IMFL market.
Yeah.
But they're also mindful of their core business and their responsibility to shareholders.
It's a balancing act
Yeah.
that a lot of companies have to face.
Okay, so we've got this picture of a company that's trying to adapt
Yes.
and evolve in this really dynamic market,
They're facing headwinds.
but they're also pursuing opportunities for growth.
So now the big question is,
Yeah.
what's the expert take on their overall financial health and their prospects for the future?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
That's what we'll delve into next.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's take a step back,
Okay.
synthesize all this information,
Assess where they stand today.
and where they might be headed tomorrow.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah.
From G M Breweries' humble beginnings.
Right from those 200 cases a day.
Exactly. All the way to, their current position as this major player
A real force in the industry.
in the Indian liquor industry. And we've explored their brands, their production capabilities.
Right. We talked about their strategic moves. We even dug into their financials.
Now, the big question.
The million-dollar question.
What's the outlook for GM Breweries?
Yeah, are they poised for continued success, or are there storm clouds on the horizon?
Give it to me straight.
Okay, well, we've seen some promising signs,
Okay.
but also some potential red flags.
Okay, but lay it on me.
So on the one hand, they have a really strong foundation.
Okay, how so?
Well, their brand recognition is excellent.
Yeah, especially in their home turf of Maharashtra.
Exactly.
Yeah, seems like everybody knows GM there.
They've built a powerful production infrastructure.
Right, 50,000 cases a day.
And their history of innovation suggests that they're not afraid to adapt.
Right, they've been pretty nimble in the past.
Exactly.
They've shown that they can move with the market,
That's right.
and they've also demonstrated a commitment to quality.
Yeah, which is crucial in a market that's becoming increasingly discerning.
Right, consumers are getting more sophisticated.
Yeah, absolutely. They're demanding more.
And let's not forget their expansion into the IMFL market.
Right. That's a smart strategic move.
Yeah, to capture a share of that rapidly growing segment.
They're not content to just sit back and relax.
Right, they're actively looking for new avenues for growth.
Exactly.
Which is a good sign.
However, there are some headwinds that they're going to have to navigate.
Right, and we've seen those in the numbers.
Exactly. We've seen a dip in both their revenue and profit margins,
Right.
which suggests that they might be facing some cost pressures.
It's tough out there for a business right now.
It is.
And then there's that uncertainty surrounding their investment in ILNFS.
Right.
If that situation goes south, it could have a ripple effect on their whole financial picture.
Yeah, that investment adds a layer of risk to their portfolio.
Right. It's a bit of a gamble.
You're betting on ILNFS's recovery.
Yeah, fingers crossed for them.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
So they're walking a tightrope.
In a way, they are.
They need to boost revenue managed costs
Yes.
while also navigating these external pressures.
And potential risks.
It's a balancing act
It is a balancing act.
that a lot of companies face.
But it's particularly challenging in a dynamic market like this.
Right. The Indian liquor industry, it's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not.
So they're at a crossroads.
I think that's a good way to put it.
They've got a solid base to build on,
They do.
but there are some pretty serious challenges.
Right. Challenges that could either propel them forward.
Or hold them back.
Their future success really hinges on their ability to make those strategic decisions.
Right.
Adapt to the market.
Stay nimble.
And effectively manage both opportunities and risks.
So what should we be watching for? What are some key indicators that GM Breweries is on the right track?
Well, keep an eye on their innovation
Okay.
and their ability to diversify that product portfolio.
Okay, so are they going to release new brands? Are they going to,
Are they going to be able to attract that new generation of consumer?
right, the ones who are looking for that variety and those premium experiences?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then watch their cost management.
All right, so are they taking steps to kind of mitigate the impact of rising taxes?
Right.
fluctuating raw material prices.
Watch for signs that they're streamlining their operations,
Okay.
optimizing their supply chain, finding ways to improve efficiency.
So getting leaner and meaner.
Exactly.
And of course, we can't forget about that ILNFS investment.
No, that's a big one.
Any developments there could really shake things up.
That's right. It's a wild card.
Yeah.
It could make them a lot of money, or it could really hurt them.
All right, well, it seems like GM Breweries is at this really pivotal moment.
I think so.
They have the potential to achieve some really great things.
But they're also facing some pretty major hurdles.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
It is.
Well, we've learned a lot about GM Breweries today.
We have.
Their history, their brands, the Indian liquor industry as a whole.
And their current financial standing.
It's been a fascinating deep dive.
And as always, remember to drink responsibly.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Until next time.
Keep exploring.